when I run this presentation, it just shows me static text. That is, shows me PowerPoint from scratch, the first slide, then suddenly bang, entering text, adding text to slide, second slide, which is here, then the third slide. But the beauty of PowerPoint lies in animating this, which is what we're going to have a look at now. How do we animate each of these objects so that they appear one at a time? Let's start off with this. Okay. When I run this, you notice that all this appeared one shot. Now let me do it in such a way that this entering text comes first, then these 3 points come along. Okay. So for that, what I do is initially I select this entering text box. You'll notice when I click on this, you'll notice that the cursor is inside, which means it's in an editing mode. So if I type something, it's going to come here. Okay. Now I need to come out of this editing mode. At the same time, I need this text box to be selected. So for this, either click on the dotted line or press escape once. Notice when you press escape once, it has selected the full box. You see that? There's no dotted line. It's a full box over here. So do that first. Then you click on animations, because we're going to animate this guy here, this box here. Click on animations. Now if you have got PowerPoint 2007 installed on your computer, it will look somewhat like this. If you've got 2010 installed on your computer, then it looks a little different. Okay, because you'll have animation effects listed over here as well. Anyways, assuming it's 2007, you click on custom animation button over here. And you'll notice that immediately there is a task pane. This is called a task pane. A task pane appears on your right side. And because you've selected this entering text box, this add effect is enabled, or it can be clicked on. Okay. Suppose you had clicked on nothing on the slide. You'll notice that this is gray. You can't select add effect. Okay. You might notice this happening sometimes. When that happens, the first thing you've got to do is select some object. So let's say again, I select entering text. I press escape to select that entire thing. Now you click on add effect. Now when you click on add effect, there are several things over here. Don't worry yourself too much about each of these. For now, go straight for entrance. Okay. And under entrance on my computer, because I've used this a lot, it shows me 9 effects. If you've not used it before, maybe it'll show 4 effects. Don't worry about it. You just go straight down to the more effects option here. Right down. And when you say more effects, you'll get a whole lot of effects that are there. Now, initially, when you're using PowerPoint, it's good fun to just click on one of these and observe what is happening here. It gives you a preview. So when you say compress, your text will appear like this. When you say ascend, the text will slowly come up. Or color typewriter, it'll appear that way, one letter at a time. Grow and turn will cause it to come that way. Okay, so there are several effects. So sometimes it takes a bit of getting used to. You can fiddle around and figure out which you like. And you can use one of these for your text to appear. Now, my honest suggestion is avoid something like swivel. Because too much of swivel can be irritating. Because you've got to wait for this thing to stop spinning around like that. It's irritating. Okay, my suggestion. But if you want to use it, it's all yours. Anyways, so you select one of these. Normally for something like a title, I would go in for something like fade, a very simple gradual fade that comes in, or an ascend or a descend. So let's say I've selected this for now and I click on OK. Now you'll notice as soon as I've done that, 2 things happen. One is there's a small 1 that appears here, indicating that on this slide, this is the first thing that will be animated, this box. Second thing that happens is in this side, you'll notice a similar box appears over here, telling me the title 1, which is entering text, this box, is going to be animated. It's present under custom animation. Okay, which means now when I run this presentation, or rather when I run this slide, note I told you if you press F5, the presentation starts from the beginning, very first slide. But suppose I want to run the presentation from this current slide, keep Shift pressed, and then press F5 once. Notice? It starts off from the slide where you are working on. Okay. Now notice the title has not come. Why hasn't it come? because it's waiting for you to click. So now let's click. There it comes with an ascend. Okay, so that has appeared. But now these three things should not have been there. These three things should come only after this title has come in. Okay, so let's go back again. Press escape. When you escape, you come back to this design view. Now I need to animate these fellows. So again, click. Dotted line indicates that the whole box is not selected. So press escape once. Click on add effect, entrance, and you choose your effect. Let's say this time I want it to fade in. Notice what happens. Yeah, can you see one by one each of those bullets appear? Let's figure out why that happened. Click on OK. You'll notice over here that a double arrow has appeared over here. Now this is because we've added bulleted points. This does not always happen. Now when you click on this double arrow, it says over here, click to expand contents. Click on it and it will show you, you had just animated one box, but it has shown you three things. Because it says adding text to the slide is the first option, adding an image is second, adding a table. And what this indicates over here is that when you click, this is going to come second, this will come third, this will come fourth. And you can see these one here. So in other words, when you animate this slide, on your first click, this will come. The next time you click or you press the right arrow, this text will come. Third time you click, this will come. Fourth time you click, this will come. Let's try it out. Shift and F5. Nothing's on the slide, it's waiting for you to click. Click. Entering text. Now you give your blah 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 blah. And when you're ready, you click on it and your first point appears. You explain this point in detail, etc. Click on it again. Your second point appears. Explain this one. Click again and your third point is there. Okay, so what you've done is you've animated each of these individually and each of them appears on a click. Are we okay there? Okay, now if I were to click, it will go directly onto the third slide. And because we've not animated these, they come all together. Okay, now let's animate this. So let's say I want to animate this box. Okay, so I click on add effect. Firstly, of course, we selected the box. Then I click on add effect. I click on entrance and then I select whatever effect I want. Okay. So let's say I choose, this is another of my fairly favorite ones, peek in. And when I click on peek in, it's going to peep in from somewhere. Where does it come from? These are the options. It can come from bottom, it can come from left. So if I say left, it comes this way, or I can make it come from the right. Left, up to you, where you want it to come from, or from the top. Okay. So let me just put it from the left. It's going to come in this way. And then I want this image to come in. So select that image. Okay. And I'm going to say grow and turn. It's going to come that way. After that, I want this arrow to appear. So click on this arrow and I'm going to say entrance, more effects. Maybe I will use some other effect. I can just try out different effects and see how they come. Fold is going to come this way. Maybe not so nice. I may use a wipe. There's a wipe over here. Okay. I say okay. And again, direction, I can say from left, which means it'll come this way. From the left, that arrow seems to be coming along from left. Okay. A third option here is the speed of it. So if I say slow, you'll see that arrow coming very slowly. If I say medium, it comes accordingly. So depending on how fast you want it to appear, you can select this as well. Okay. Now the third object to be animated here is the spines thing. So I select spines and again, let me use the same wipe effect. Since I had just set that wipe effect, it will appear here. You don't need to go into more effects. So I click on wipe, I get it this way. But notice it looked ugly coming from down. I wanted to start from here and go outwards. So I say wipe from left. It will go starting from there up to there. You get that? Now let's see this slide. Shift and F5. Right arrow. Here's my definition. Right arrow. Picture. The arrow comes along and the spines. Okay. Now let's for some reason say that you wanted this arrow to come before spines, but by mistake you animated the spines first, then the arrow. So I want to change the order. Either ways, I want to change the order. If you look at this shows, this is number 1. This is the second thing to be animated. Third is this arrow. Fourth is spines. But I want to switch these two, their order around. What all I need to do over here is, I want that right arrow to come last. So you click on this right arrow and you drag it down. That's it. You'll notice the numbers have changed. This is the third thing to come in. Arrow will come in fourth. Is that simple enough? Let's see what that means. When you run it, you've got this, you've got this. Now the spines come first, then your arrow comes. Okay? Escape to come out of it. Now one other very important thing is that notice that so far we are doing everything on click. Ideally, that is more than enough. You can always do it on click. But let's say for some reason, let's say you want this image to appear immediately after your definition has come in. So don't wait for anything. The image comes in as soon as the definition is over. So what I do over here is I click on this down arrow for the picture, and instead of start on click, I select start after previous. It shows a small watch there. Now start after previous basically means this. Let's run it. Shift F5. Nothing has come. Now I'm only going to click once. Notice what happened? I clicked only once. The text box came, and as soon as the text box came, without me clicking, the next thing that happened is the cactus came. You get what I'm saying? So it automatically happens after the previous one. Earlier we had set it to click, so I had to click it a second time, then the cactus would appear. Whereas here, because I've set it, I clicked over here and I selected after previous. This is going to come after this box appears. Let's now see what would happen if I say start with previous. Now let's run it. Waiting for me to click. Notice both came almost together. While that starts, this is also started and both of them arrived together. That's because we chose with previous there. And you can see that with previous doesn't have any icon. This has a mouse and this has a watch. Okay, so you can choose whatever options you want accordingly. Okay, so now what we've done is we've not just placed images, text boxes, and some of these arrows, etc. on the slide. We've even animated them. Okay, let's just run this animation now from the beginning. I press F5. Here's my PowerPoint from scratch, the title itself. I could have animated this also, yeah, so that it starts off well. I click again, entering text, I click. First point, I can explain this point, whatever is there. Second point, I talk about it. Third point, I talk about this. When I'm ready to click, I click again. Now notice I've clicked. It's gone to the new slide, but on the new slide, it's waiting for me to click for the next option to appear. Okay. Now the reason that's happening is, let me just press escape. The reason that's happening is on each slide, your first one is waiting for the click to happen. So ideally, I would suggest, but I leave it to you, that the first one you make it after previous. The first object should start after previous, which means, let me do it for this also. Title, first object, make it after previous, which means now when I start from the beginning, when I click, I need to only click once. It's not only moved to the next slide, the very first object also appears along with it. Click, this appears, click, this appears, click, this appears. Next time I click, not only does it move to the next slide, it also animates the first object on the slide. And because this was set to move with previous, both of them appeared more or less together. Although both came with two different animation effects, okay, they came together. Now let's say you said something by mistake and you want to go to a previous thing, then you press the left arrow button. Now when you press the left arrow button, you're going backwards. And you want to say the same stuff again, you turn the right arrow button and you're back again. Click on the right arrow, you're next. Click on the right arrow, next. You want to go back, press left arrow. Right arrow, next again. Are we okay with this? Click again, slide shows over, click to exit. We are back here. Is this okay? Now this is quite a bit of PowerPoint already, but just let me do a little more and I'll wind up with this little basic session of PowerPoint.